Today I'm going to bring you the ultimate Route 1 system, and it's very fun to play like this in Football Manager sometimes. It's different to the Gegenpress, the Tiki-Taka, and the way it performs, it might honestly be one of the better 4-5-1s I have ever used in Football Manager. I will say if you are enjoying yourself so far this year on this channel with the tactics and much more we post on this channel, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. That is completely free and helps me out massively. And if you are a big fan of rebuilds, we have got a second channel dedicated to rebuilds now, so be sure to go over and check it out in the description and also on the screen if I remember to put it in the video. But let's go through the results, starting from the weakest to the strongest team. So I'm not going to mess about today. I'm going to challenge myself, and I'm putting myself in with one of the worst teams in the game. That is going to be Luton, and I will be honest, what we have done here, we have not won the league, and we were nowhere near to winning the league, but we have got Champions League football with Luton in one season with a grand total of £0 spent, and of course, 0 signings being brought in. So that is a remarkable season. We've also got a player to become the top goal scorer. I will say the system is heavily linked into purely feeding this individual striker, so that is probably why. But overall, a very, very strong season, and where we thrived was the defensive side. As you can see, second place joint with Arsenal when it comes to goals conceded, and most clean sheets also second place. So a very, very strong season. And going over to the data hub as well, it's not going to be too pretty, but it is going to be 0.66 conceded, 1.74 scored. So with Luton Town, relegation favourites, the team which everyone batters, we are scoring a goal more to what we are going to be conceding with this team. That is a sign of an incredible tactic. Having a decent amount of shots per game, a decent pass completion for this sort of standard, a genuinely really good, humble season, and we did turn up against some of the big boys as well. Now, the rest of the competitions, the Friendly Cup we did win, but it's a Friendly Cup, but it's a trophy. We'll take it. We get to the 5th round of the FA Cup against Newcastle, and the semi-finals is a good return, but Manchester City, did they batter us? Let's go and have a little look. It is going to be, oh, it's humble. It's a 2-1 defeat. Nothing too embarrassing. So a very, very strong season, and that is a great start to what hopefully is going to be an amazing video. I wasn't lying. We did turn up against some of the best teams in the Premier League. The first one is going to be against Manchester United with Andros Townsend down the right-hand side, driving at everyone. A little bit lucky there to come off the post, but the striker is where he needs to be, and that's all you can ask for. He gets his goal. He gets rewarded for the amazing positioning as Ross Barkley now cuts it back into Kabore, who's going to cut inside, drive it outside into Potts, down the left, back into the middle. It's made to look so simple, but this is with Luton Town, and it's looking incredible so far, with the last goal here coming basically towards the end of the game. A little bit of a set-piece action. That is shock and marking from the United backline. And then 18th place predicted Cardiff. We come out and actually win the Sky Bet Championship. Yes, we drew 10 games. Yes, we lost 5, but still quite a comfortable position over Norwich and, of course, Middlesbrough, Leicester. Ipswich down in 5th alongside of Leeds in 6th place. We enjoyed a fantastic season. We, again, top goal scorer in 1st and 3rd place. We've got 2 players in the average rating, 1 player in Aaron Ramsey with the most assists. Now, we love to be seeing that. He was one incredible player back in the day, and also we picked up the most amount of clean sheets, which is a big sort of testament. We actually had, as you can see here, the fewest conceded and tackles. We had 1,162. So I will say, this tactic is not a sit-back sort of, invite pressure all the time. We are aggressive, we put challenges in, and that is why we're able to go against some of these big teams, like a Manchester United, and to be honest, simply catch them off guard. That's exactly what we do. The fewer shots against and the most shots are really good stats to have in your favour. Of course, possession-wise, we are not going to be anywhere to be seen, because we are not a possession-based team. Goal-scoring-wise, 1 goal behind, so we were really competitive in this division, despite being favoured to go down. Now, the data hub as well is going to explain the story. 2.22 goals per game, only 0.89 conceded, a great amount of shots per game over 16, an 82% pass completion. It's never going to be too high because, as I keep saying it, it's a Route 1 system. We're not going to have tiki-taka, we're not going to have 98% possession or anything mad. That would be ridiculous, but we're not going to have a very high amount of possession, but it is going to get the job done, and sometimes that's all you need in this sort of tactic system. Now, the competitions, it's not going to be too pretty apart from the league. Of course, we were never going to be expected to win the FA Cup or the Carabao Cup, but I'm going to take my Sky Bet Championship and I'm going to run with it. Over to a team predicted 3rd place, I believe, in the Jupiler Pro League, the Belgian league. We come out and actually win that over Anderlecht, and we didn't just win it by a little bit, we absolutely battered them. As you can see here, a ridiculous point advantage in that regard. We only lost 2 games, them coming against Westerlo and Anderlecht, both by 1 goal margin. So again, not getting battered at all by the big teams. We've got 2 players in the top goal scorers, we've got 3 players in the average rating, and we've also got 2 players when it comes to the most assists. Of course, 3 featuring a wing back right there. We've got our goalkeeper picking up the most clean sheets, so again, we are going to be heavily reliant on a great defensive display. 22 conceded alongside of 22 clean sheets, most dribbles, the most tackles coming in, the fewer shots against, the most shots for, and in this league, the most goals, and by quite a comfortable margin as well. And of course, naturally picking up the most points per game. But again, I will stress this enough, we are not going to be in your pass completions and your possessions, because this one is a little bit direct. It gives me a little bit of a mixture, a bit of Sean Dyche vibes, being honest with you. But going to the data hub, we are going to have a little look. It is going to be 2.62 goals per game, only 0.55 conceded, over 14 shots a game. These two stats here are going to be very, very similar. And as you can see, we are scoring a high number of goals compared to the rest of the teams on an average basis, which is really, really good. Now, the rest of the competitions, Europa League and Champions League, didn't really go our way, but I wasn't expecting to go anywhere too far with a team like Antwerp in the first season. But we don't just win the Pro League, we also do win the Crocky Cup here, coming in against Union in a 1-0 win, and runners-up in the Belgian Super Cup, where we fall out on penalties, which is a little bit annoying. But again, it is going to be 2 trophies in one season. You can't turn your nose up at that. And I will include it in the video purely for those of you that are interested in playing as a powerhouse with a Route 1 tactic. It is quite fun, and as you can see, you are going to absolutely batter everyone. I mean, PSG, 32 wins, 1 draw, 1 loss, I believe, against Lorient. It was very early on in the season. Once we got used to this tactic, the players got used to the system, we were absolutely all guns blazing. Of course, we also are going to win the French Cup, which is a big achievement, 2-0 win in that regard, and also the Trophy de Champion, we are going to beat Toulouse in 3-0 fashion. So it is going to be not a treble, a quadruple winning season. I nearly forgot about the Champions League, which we did beat Man City 1-0 in, so a very, very strong season, and I'll now go over how we actually done in the league. So in the league, a very familiar story is going to be taking place. The most goals, the most shots, the fewest shots against, the fewest conceded, and the most clean sheets. But again, even with PSG, you are not going to have the possession or the pass completion, because we are not playing that system. But everything else is going to go in your favour, and the data hub also is going to go in your favour at only 0.44 conceded, over 22 shots a game, a 3.38. I mean, it's absolutely crazy. We're talking nearly a 3-goal advantage what you are going to be conceding every single match. There is literally not a single reason to hate this system. It's incredible. And I thought I'd show you some goals from the Champions League. This is against FC Bayern, by the way, a game which we absolutely took over with Mbappe scoring inside of 12 minutes there. An incredible goal. A bit of set-piece action. I went to Hakimi, into Kimpembe, who goes alone and actually drives by himself and slots it into the bottom right-hand corner. A great bit of pressing in here from Marquinhos. We win it back through to Agate. It's a great run there from Mbappe. He's got to go alone and slot it into the bottom right-hand corner with 2 more goals to come. A goal literally a minute after that. Musiala falling asleep, and it is going to be Dembele driving at everyone into Agate, into the bottom right-hand corner. A great bit of press, a great goal as well, with one last goal coming in now, and it is going to be Big Skriniar. A dominant game. But of course, now it's your favourite part of the video. If you are enjoying back home, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. It is completely free, and if you want to get all 3 of these tactics today, you want them early, you want the mobile version, the console version, you want rebuild files, you also want access to this month's giveaway, which is over £370 split between 5 winners. You can come over and join the other 4,500 people and get involved in the Patreon. Trust me, you're missing out every day you're not there. If you like Football Manager, you're going to love it, and even if you don't, you can win a whole lot of money. So come over and get involved in the description below. You support me, I love to support you back. So let's go through and build this tactic. So it is going to be a bit unique today. No gegenpress, no tiki-taka. It is going to be a Route 1, and you best know we're going to load in any system, and we're going to change this right off to attacking. So let's go through and talk about it. The first thing we're going to do is go to out of possession and make sure this is in the middle. If this is not in the middle, you cannot individually have closed down more on players. But let's go through and talk about this system. So firstly, we're going to roughly shape it up to what the shape's going to be like, which is, of course, is going to be a 4-5-1, and it's not going to remain like this. Don't worry, it is going to change, but the goalkeeper is going to be a sweeper keeper who is simply going to be set to defend. Again, if you watch my previous video, which you haven't, I would recommend you go and check it out. I don't usually get too much involved when it comes to the goalkeepers in terms of instructions, because I just want them to do their job. I don't really want them to come out and put any challenges in. I don't want them easing off tackles either in this system, because if you got to come out and get the job done, but also just do your job, as Roy Keane would say. Just do your job. It's that simple. But going over to the wing back on the right, he is going to be set to support. And yes, he is going to have a fair few instructions. That is going to be set to tackle harder. We're going to have him set to close down more as well. So it is going to be quite simple. But the idea with these wing-backs is I want them getting further forwards, as they do by the default anyway, but I really want them to be aggressive. Now, a 4-5-1 might look quite negative, but I can assure you, the way we're playing is not negative, because we are very, very in your face, aggressive, aggressive, aggressive. We win the ball back and we fly at them. That is what we're good at, and that's what we'll do until the day we die. It's an incredible motto to live by. But let's go through and talk about the back line. So, both of the ball-playing defenders, or one of the ball-playing defenders, is going to be simply opted for the instruction of close down more, and on the left we are going to go with a central defender. I've done this purely for you guys really back home, because if we have this also on close down more, which we are going to do, if you are playing with like a Luton or someone in a lower league, typically you aren't going to have two good ball playing defenders who are comfortable on the ball. So I have taken that into account and provided you with a backline system, or back to centre back system, of one who's a little bit more expressive on the ball. Obviously whoever's most comfortable in your team you would put in that role, and the central defender who is not very good at passing, for example, you would have in this role here. Now if you are playing as a powerhouse, yes, you can have two ball playing defenders, but I'll leave that up to you and you can use your judgment for that call. Now when it comes to the left back, we are of course going to go with another wing back on support who is also going to have the same instructions. That is going to be tackle harder and also more often, which will translate to close down more when it comes to the team instructions. So the back line consisted of two wing backs and a central defender and a ball playing defender. Is very, very risk free in terms of the attacking side, but they are not afraid to put in a challenge, and that is why I love the system. Now when it comes to the wingers, they play a very, very key part in this system, and they are both going to be on support with quite a fair few instructions. So the first instruction is going to be to aim the cross at the centre. At the end of the day, we are feeding one man up that pitch, and he traditionally is going to be in the centre, so make sure you are feeding it into that area. We also want him to be getting further forwards, because again, they are providing the width in this team alongside of the wing backs when they decide to push up. But if these wingers aren't actually getting forwards, especially in the default tactic, you are going to get nowhere. So get further forwards. We also are going to want them to be running wide, and alongside of this, also more often when it comes to the trigger press. Now what I have done, save you some time back at home as well, we've automatically applied that to the right hand side as well, so the right and the left are going to be exactly the same. Now when it comes to the midfield three, you have to be so careful with the roles you use, because playing a flat line is not easy in Football Manager. But what I have figured out throughout this game being released is box to boxes are absolutely broken in this game. They're absolutely incredible, so we are going to use two. On the right hand side we are going to have him on tackle harder, and we're also going to have him right now when it comes to close down more. And on the left hand side we are simply going to replicate that, so again, close down more and tackle harder. Now because we've got two players here who are going to be getting forwards but also coming back, it's the perfect balance, because not both of them are going to always be forwards the whole time. They will, if we're attacking, for example, they are going to be doing it. But for the way we go into the games, we're going to have a nice balance of two players being forward and coming back. And worst comes to worst, we've actually got quite a defensive back line. So if they do decide to push up, it's no issue. And the reason I'm saying that as well is because the central midfield player is going to be set to defend, and he is going to be quite a sort of low risk option. So the passing risk is going to be set to take fewer, he's going to be shooting less, he is going to be closing down more, he's also going to be set to tackle harder. Now the great thing about this is it sort of caters for the box to boxers, because if the box to boxers push up, so imagine this player's up here, this player's up here, and the wingers also are pushed up, the centre mid is going to remain back. We've got two defensive centre backs as well, and the wing backs aren't going to be pushed up as well as the wingers, so we're always going to have cover. So regardless of the box to boxers committing, it's not going to be an issue at all. And lastly, the only role you should be using in this, unless you are going to use a target forward, is going to be your poacher. Feed the man up top and he will get you goal after goal. So now over to the team instructions. Again, a Route 1 style on the attacking mentality. We are going to leave this to standard. On your screen it will be saying fairly wide, because I am on clean slate to show you this. On your screen it will say fairly wide, just to clarify. We are going to overlap left and also overlap right, while having a bit of a higher tempo going on, with much more direct when it comes to the passing directness, because again, we are a Route 1 team. Of course, because of that as well, we are also going to opt for hit early crosses, and also we are going to run at defence. So for those of you that have been after a bit more of a counter-attack and long ball system, I've seen a lot of Deitch comments recently. This is probably the closest we're going to get, because replicating Deitch is quite a niche video to do. So this is going to be probably the closest to a Deitch tactic we're going to get for the remainder of this game. But of course, if the Deitch comments keep coming, I will make it happen. Now in transition, we are going to go through and talk about this. When position has been lost, we are going to regroup, because personally, because of the amount of close down moors we have got, also having counter press on, it's a complete overkill. So we're going to slightly tame it down with regroup. When there's been one, we're going to counter attack. And because we've got players up there, we are going to take long goal kicks. We've got a poacher. He can sit there. He can obviously, I know he's there to score the goals and obviously poach goals, but if you've got a big presence up top, it also is quite beneficial to have the goal kicks set to a long sort of distribution style. Out of possession, we are going to go with the standard line and the mid-block line of engagement. The trigger press is going to be set to more often, and also we are going to go with get stuck in, and that is going to complete for you the 4-5-1. But this video, you need the attacking and defensive, because sometimes with this tactic, you are, in the game, but you might need to go a little bit more attacking to get a goal, or if you want to go even more defensive, I'll also include a video, or sort of part of this video, to show you that. So let's go through and talk about the attacking variant. This is going to be the 4-5-1 attack, and basically the only real difference to this is a lot of it is in the wide area. So the goalkeeper does remain the same, as does both of the centre backs. The wing back on the left and on the right are both now going to be on take more risks, cross more often, run wide, close down more, and tackle harder. That is exactly the same for the left and the right hand side. Both of the wingers are now going to be on attack, which naturally allows them to stay wider, get further forwards, cross from the byline, cross more often, dribble more, close down more, run wide, and cross aim centre. They are both going to be exactly the same on the right and also the left hand side. The box to boxes again are very similar, but a couple more instructions: get further forwards, move into the channels, close down more, and tackle harder. And we have scrapped the defensive midfield player and introduced a deep line playmaker on close down more and tackle harder. So basically this is now a very attacking sort of flat sort of five in the middle. The wingers are going to be very committed. The box to boxes again are going to be committed. The deep line playmaker isn't really going to get forwards but sit deep and play the balls over the top. You are going to be a little bit more defensively vulnerable, being open and honest, but if you are after a goal, you've got to be willing to take the risks, and the rest of it comes down to a default poacher. Again, all based off a custom route one. Again, on the attacking mentality, we are going to leave this in the middle. We're going to pass into the space, overlap left and overlap right. We are going to go to hit early crosses, and I will say I didn't actually discuss this. I like having mixed crosses on because I don't know what players you've got back at home. I don't know what team you are, so for me, releasing a tactic, I want to try and cater for you as much as I can. If you have got an absolute unit up front, then obviously go, for example, floater crosses. If you've only got someone who's really small, go for low crosses. But if you want a bit of a mixture, mixed crosses obviously is going to be the go-to. The tempo is going to be set to slightly higher. On your screen it will say higher. The directness is going to be all the way up to much more direct. We're going to run at the defence, and also on this occasion we are going to be more expressive because we are trying to chase a game, we're trying to get goals. Let's go for it, why not? In transition, we are going to have pretty much the same sort of pattern. Take long goal kicks, we are going to counter, regroup, but on this occasion, again, purely because it's an attacking tactic, we want to get the ball moving quickly, so we're going to tick, distribute quickly. And lastly, out of possession, the standard line is going to come in. We're not going to have the mid-block because obviously you want to try and push the team up a little bit, so it makes complete sense to deploy a high-pressing line of engagement more often when it comes to the trigger press. And lastly, we are going to have get stuck in. Now to a tactic to defend those games out. Now this is a negative tactic, okay? Now I would not recommend going into a game like this because it is purely designed to factor in the last sort of 10 to 15 minutes of a game, or 20 max, to really seal out a game. It's time wasting, it's really, really negative football, but it's very hard to break down. So the goalkeeper remains the same. The wing back on the right and the left are going to be simply wing backs on defend, both on the default. When it comes down to the central defender on the left, the ball playing on the right, they do remain the same as the default tactic, both on close down more. The winger on the right and on the left is going to be set to simply support on mark tighter. A ball and midfield player on the left is going to be on support on mark tighter. A box to box on the right on support on close down more and tackle harder. I want one player out of this three to still be an option to go forwards and actually being quite aggressive, because the central midfield player is now going to be on defend, again on mark tighter. So a very tightly marked midfield, and it is a nightmare for oppositions to break down. The AI simply can't do it. Playing like this, they simply can't do it. It's absolutely ridiculous, but it is key to have one player in this midfield, if you want to say five, that is going to still be getting forward. So make sure you have at least one of them doing it, and preferably make it a box to box. The poacher does have to remain the same because we want one vocal point to hit up front. Now you could argue with this defensive tactic maybe a target forward would be better, but because the wingers are still on support, obviously we haven't gone with defensive wingers for example, they still do get the ball in the box, so a poacher will still get his goals, which is why we've decided to keep it like that. So again, route one this time is all the way down to balance when it comes to the mentality. We're going to go to standard. We are also going to leave this all completely blank. We're going to go down to a slightly lower tempo. Time wasting is going to be utilised to the highest level. We are also going to play for set pieces. cases, you can get those over on the Patreon. They are absolutely broken, I will be saying that, because they really, really are, which is why I always play with them. We are also going to go with a directness, because we're completely maxed out on much more direct on that regard, and this transforms the tactic into a very frustrating team to play, which is going to simply absorb pressure and go long when we have got the ball. Now in transition, again, a little bit of a change. We're going to slow the pace down, we're going to hold shape, we're going to regroup, and we're going to roll the ball out to anyone across the back line, and we're going to take our time with it, you know, have the ball at the back, frustrate the opposition, because we don't want to take any risks either. And when it comes to out of possession, of course, we are going to go through it. It is going to be a lower defensive line with a mid-block line of engagement, so again, very, very negative. We're going to drop off more, we're also going to stay on feet and just be very frustrating to get past, and that is going to complete for you boys and girls back home 3 variants of this incredible 4-5-1, which you can genuinely dominate within Football Manager. We've got a default tactic, we've obviously got the attacking tactic, and of course the defensive tactic. If you have enjoyed today's video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. It is completely free, and if you want to get your hands on all 3 of these tactics today, or you want them on Xbox, PlayStation, mobile, you want my rebuild files, please do come over and check out the Patreon and join the other 4,500 people. Trust me, you won't regret it. I'll be seeing you in the next one.